From January 2008 to December 2008, the Rogers State University bookstore was kind enough to save me one copy of each magazine they stocked but didn't sell before tearing off the covers for credit from their distributor. As I started looking through the magazines and saw the occasional cigarette ad featuring a Plains Indian, or travel ads depicting mostly Central and South America as exotic destinations, I wondered what the body of imagery related to American Indians would be in 1 year of looking at these magazines from the bookstore. Out of the 657 copies of magazines we counted, which doesn't include at least 100 read in a variety of carpooling, travel, and leisure reading moments, only 25 had what would be considered imagery of native North Americans, and those images fell into some broad categories. Mythic images associated with exotic travel or fine art, not necessarily by American Indians. Stereotypical images ranging from the noble savage to mystical pre-Columbian icons. Or as a people in need or somehow being deprived of basic human social standards. Rarely, if ever, did images of American Indians appear in a modern or urbane setting, with only a few specialty market magazines having any positive, authentic images at all. Even the Aborigines of Australia received a mention in Time magazine when the Australian government openly apologized for its mistreatment of those people since colonization. Native Americans were practically invisible in the many mainstream magazines we reviewed. After assembling the pages depicting Native people of the Americas, the overwhelming positive images came from travel ads touting Mexico, Central and South America as exotic locations where one can get in touch with their inner Inca, or perhaps even meet a shaman in a jungle. Magazines depicted a few mythic images of Native American history, mostly in the Southwest, and primarily as travel advertisements for the opportunity to revisit a sacred past. While a sense of gaining spiritual insight from American Indian history appeared in travel ads, the ancient religions of the Americas received no mention in this Time charticle on world religions. This idea of a mythic Native American past consistently informs fine or pop art based on American Indian mysticism. But no indication exists in these ads of this art being made by American Indians, a clear distinction now because of the Indian Arts and Crafts Act of 1990. These artistic images ultimately give way to commercial images based on the same pre-Columbian American Indian mythos of Native people being innately spiritual and in touch with North American nature in ways no European could imagine, a trend manifested in tattoos, skateboards, or heavy metal logos. This ancient sensibility also magnifies sports images, where stereotypical icons use the standard noble savage of the last 150 years of American popular culture, dated caricatures, or playing on the violent uprising trope that fits with the competitive nature of professional sports, and even informs this New Yorker cartoon where no Indians are present visually, only as diabolical adversaries. Of course, sports has no corner on these images, as the most often repeated image of the year was the calumet-smoking Plains Indian of the Natural American Spirit tobacco ads. The tobacco is additive-free or natural, just like the unsullied savage used to promote the product's brand. Additional items marketed for their American Indian cachet included statuettes, automobiles, and hors d'oeuvre plates. So where were the authentic American Indian people in 2008 magazines? One small category is what we might call special knowledge images, such as basketball coach Kelvin Sampson, who openly claims Native American ancestry, or images of what might be Native people, but aside from an ethnic non-Anglo look, the only clue here might be the wild desert calendar this woman is holding. The few images of Native origin came from special interest magazines where casinos marketed themselves as co-promoters or entertainment providers. That stereotype of gaming tribes also provided another New Yorker cartoon with fodder for its caption contest, with a man from Arizona winning by saying that spotlights on the horizon could obviously be identified with a Comanche casino. The few extremely authentic images arrived in my own mailbox due to me being a AAA member, as the American Automobile Association's member magazine points out real American Indian art and locations of interest, but also falls into the trap of placing ads with caricatures of indigenous Americans. Perhaps the most positive, authentic, and respectful images also came to my mailbox on the cover of the American Legion magazine. Unfortunately, the story was about the recent budget cuts for funding of Native American spirituality-focused training of psychologists who work with returning war veterans from Afghanistan and Iraq. The training has had a dramatic impact on psychologists' ability to treat people of many races who suffer from the effects of post-traumatic stress disorder. So while the image on the cover of the magazine is positive, the actual story is about the shame of limiting this kind of successful program for veterans, especially American Indians. This lack of funding also relates to a wider theme of depicting not only American Indians, but many indigenous populations around the world as needy and still in need of saving. One positive, constant image of an American Indian that resurfaced several times in sports magazines included eventual Heisman Trophy winner Sam Bradford, an enrolled member of the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma, who might be said to be the most significant American Indian athlete since Jim Thorpe or Billy Mills. Another positive, identifiable image we came across was of Neil McCaleb, the former Secretary of Transportation in the state of Oklahoma and one-time Assistant Secretary of Indian Affairs in the Department of Interior, who is an enrolled member of the Chickasaw Nation. The most disturbing, authentic image of American Indians was found in Fader magazine, depicting Pine Ridge, South Dakota, as a dilapidated, scary place where one might run into something they might tolerate on a tattoo, but would not necessarily want to meet. While this study did not review every issue of every magazine in 2008, we did sample a wide variety of magazines throughout the year. The results indicate the primary imagery of American Indians in mainstream magazines is limited to exotic travel destinations, mystic inspirations for fine and pop art, the noble savage stereotype prominent in sports and commerce, and people in need, or who have somehow been wronged by mainstream society. This mirrors a larger phenomenon in American popular culture media, where Native American people are not seen as high-profile newsmakers, entertainers, politicians, commercial spokespeople, advertising models, nor, until Sam Bradford, athletes. This survey of more than 700 mostly mainstream magazines from 2008 symbolizes a wider phenomenon of the absence of identifiable Native people in American popular culture. The images that do appear most often fit into stereotypes in place since travelers from the East first arrived in North America and began sending images and impressions back to Europe. These stereotypical images will most likely continue until American Indian people find a collective voice on a national platform to help redefine their image in the national consciousness. Or changes might be made by educated and sensitive non-Indians in powerful decision-making positions as mass media gatekeepers. As popular culture monitors, educators, and scholars, one of our jobs is to notice trends in society, contextualize them intellectually, summarize those trends, and theorize about them for our students, colleagues, and now via video file sharing services, the community of interest outside of academia. In a wider framework, by understanding issues regarding stereotypes in the media and how those images ossify in our brains from youth to maturity, we can further safeguard against the hypergeneralization of any subject relating to ethnicity or other social segmentation due to race, religion, political belief, geographic origin, etc., and be better critical thinkers who are aware of multiple levels of meaning and interpretation regarding the world and its complexities. So where are the American Indians in contemporary American society if they are not on the pages of mainstream magazines? We see them meeting among themselves to strategize collective goals in a society that renders them invisible outside of preconceived stereotypes, harness their sovereignty for economic development and independence, and continue traditions that do not fit the popular culture image of what an American Indian is or does.